whose name sleeps in my heart, and there it is. It's apart my eyes windows to the beauty of your name. 7 letters that I've loved formed to be.
Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV. I really hope, inshallah, your Monday morning has been productive.
There have been so many amals in the month of Safar, and each and every one of them are just as important, significant, as they have a huge impact on us spiritually.
It does. And speaking of du'as, there is a ziyarah of Bibi Sakina, which is very good to do today and tomorrow, because it is the time of her martyrdom. She was the youngest daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Yep, Sakina was the beloved of Imam Hussein. Our mom was often heard to say, a house without Sakina would not be worth living in. She always had a sweet and cheerful smile and a very friendly nature. She was also very close to her uncle, Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam.
Subhanallah, the events which took place right before her martyrdom would really melt even an iron heart. It's very important that the viewers do take a look at her ziyarah, as it's a very special one.
Definitely, you'll benefit from her ziyarah and as her martyrdom has approached, and reciting her ziyarah during this time will add on to the Baraka and your good deeds, inshallah.
Inshallah. So let's begin the Baraka. This morning we'll be starting with Mustafa Al-Ali, who will once again be blessing our studio with a beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran and an ayah from Surah.
We also have Brother Ibrahim Ansari on the couch with our daily du'as. Today we will be looking at a ziyarah to do at the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, which is very important for those of you on ziyarah and possibly going soon.
Right, we're also bringing you live footage from those on pilgrimage taking part in the Arba'in walk. As the time goes on, there seems to be more and more lovers flocking to the shrines of Imam Hussein and Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. So personally, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And right after that, we also have the poetry and latum segments of the show. This morning we have Imran Datu back on the couch, alhamdulillah, really looking forward to that.
Fantastic. And also then after that we have Sister Masuma Jafar answering your personal questions with Dear Masuma. Today we'll be discussing how to maintain that spiritual feeling that we gain from these occasions.
So we have, as ever, the cutest guest of the morning, our little Husseini, who will be educating us on the rituals during Muharram and Safar.
And finally, and last but not least, we have Sayyid Mohsin Shah on the couch with your fit questions and queries.
Right now, we are giving you an opportunity to deliver a personal ziyarah to any member of your deceased family or friends. And more details with our colleagues in Karbala, namely Brother Ali.
Sunrise and sunset, your love I'd share. On one side, a beloved, whilst I want to be loved by one.
We are born with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We learn to crawl, to walk, to read, and to write. We live our lives. We donate to humanity, we donate to society, and we donate to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Before you know it, we die. We leave this life and we move on to the next journey. Morning Baraka is offering you the chance to help your loved ones on their journey. We are taking down names of your loved ones who are no longer with you to dedicate a recitation of the holy ziyarat of Imam Hussein to them. Our reciters will recite a ziyarat Ashura on your loved one's behalf, right here from the holy land of Karbala and in front of the holy shrine of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, Aba Abdullah. We understand the pain of losing a loved one and wanting to do the best for their akhirah. That is why Morning Baraka is giving you the opportunity to give comfort to those who have moved on. All we want you to do is to send in the names of your loved ones, family members, neighbors, friends, associates, and we will recite and donate to their akhirah only on Morning Baraka here on Imam Hussein TV 3.
If you would like to participate in this initiative, please send the name of the marhum you would like the ziyarah read for to either Morning Baraka at ImamHussein.tv or comment your marhumeen's names on our Instagram page at Imam Hussein 3 TV, and we will make sure this gift reaches them.
Now it's time for our daily Quran with Brother Mustafa Ali. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, how about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, good, thank you.
Yeah, we're doing very well. And again, we're very much looking forward to the next part of Al Imran. I believe in the last episode you did verses 26 onwards. Today is going to be again Al Imran and verse 84.
Yeah.
Okay,
Inshallah.
please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل آمنا بالله وما أنزل علينا قل آمنا بالله وما أنزل علينا وما أنزل على إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق وما أنزل على إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وعيسى والنبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم ونحن له مسلمون. ومن يبتغ غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. كيف يهدي الله قوما كفروا بعد إيمانهم كيف يهدي الله قوما كفروا بعد إيمانهم وشهدوا أن الرسول حق وجاءهم البينات والله لا أولئك جزاؤهم أن عليهم لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Many thanks for your time, of course, Mustafa Al Ali. Once again, morning Baraka. Part of our shows is to really take a deep dive into the du'as and the ziyaras that are associated with Muharram and Safar, specifically looking into Ashura and Arba'een. Of course, as always, we're joined by our esteemed guest, Ibrahim Al Ansari. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How's everything today? All good?
Alhamdulillah.
Coffee in the morning, chai, tea?
I don't go for coffee. I'm not a coffee fan.
All right,
Yeah, more of a chai fan.
just a tea, just a tea.
Iraqi
Especially
chai.
when it comes to the Iraqi tea and half of it is sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
good
kind
kick.
of tea I like.
Brilliant,
Yeah,
brilliant.
good.
Well, inshallah, we're looking after you at Morning Baraka. You have your
Jazakumullah khair,
mug,
jazakumullah
so we're all good.
Jazakumullah khair.
Brilliant. Zara, I think we've gone through quite a lot now.
Yeah, we have.
We're getting towards the end of the series now, and essentially we've covered everything from Ziyarat Arba'een, Ziyarat Nahiya, which was quite an emotional episode. We've looked into, for example, Ziyarat Ashura. We've spent 2 episodes on that. I think today what we're focusing on, as we were discussing, is really taking a deep dive into the Ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam whilst actually there. Because we've alluded to doing Ziyarah on the night before a Friday, Thursday. So we'll do Ziyarat Warith, for example, it's recommended, right? But Ziyarat Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when you're actually there, it's quite different to any other ziyarah.
It is very different. I think one of the things that I always tell people when they ask me about ziyarah is there's this specific thing about Imam Hussein. I really do not know what this is, but whenever you enter, and I've realized this not just with myself, so possibly you can share your experience as well, but from the friends I've asked, they have the exact same experience. The moment they pass the door and the shrine is in front of you, there's this weird feeling that goes through your upper body. And I don't know what it is, but it goes literally through the middle of your upper body and it's just there. And you feel it and it's just so amazing. You feel safe.
Yeah.
That's one of the feelings. You feel safe. You feel close.
Yeah.
And by close, I mean not just close to the Imam, but there's a different level of spirituality that you actually enter to the extent where normally if you were to get up to do a random 2 rak'ah prayer, it's hard. It's hard. Being honest, if the 5 daily prayers, we pray that, then if there's a 2 extra rak'ah prayer, like for example, Salat al-Ghufayla, Salat al-Maghrib and Isha, I myself do not pray that much. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant me tawfiq to be of those who pray. But it's difficult. It's difficult to do these extra 2 rak'at. Whereas when you're inside that shrine, for some reason, it is so easy to hold the Quran and open it. It is so easy to put a turba in front of yourself and start praying. It is so easy to do these acts. And it is these kind of things where when you're in that state, you see for yourself a place of reflection. You see for yourself a place where you can actually improve on yourself and better on yourself. And I think that is part of the blessings of the Imam, where he gives you that hand while you are by him.
And I think it definitely resonates with, I'm sure, with a lot of viewers as well. And you know, obviously we're talking about Imam Hussein, we're talking about Karbala. I've heard people say that about Imam Ali shrine. I think all of the Masumeen, one of their miracles, even in their death, there is such a peace. Medina is unparalleled, you know. It's and every city in Karbala is so close to our hearts, and we go there and the blessings of their purity comes upon our sinful souls. Where you're saying it's not difficult to then want to go close to Allah, where in this world we live, we're so distracted and there's so much to take us away from the path of God that we, you know, getting our prayers on time is it's just sitting there, not only in the shrine itself, but sitting in the courtyard, just finding a little corner, and now with the renovations before they put the roof on top of the shrine. Before that, you could, wherever you sit in the courtyard, you'd see the dome and even the minaret directly. But now, obviously, they needed to the renovations, whatever it may be. But now you can only see a bit of the dome. But
in a sense, they've created much more of a peaceful atmosphere
Yeah.
with the
Definitely.
roof as well, because there's a lot of Islamic artwork, and
Yes.
of course they could put AC with the
Yeah.
weather in Iraq as well.
Very helpful.
But I remember
it's just sitting in that
it
courtyard
is.
and just sitting and staring, not even thinking about anything.
No.
Sometimes people think and they contemplate and they cry and everything, but for myself anyway, I just love to just sit there and just observe.
Relax.
Just sit there and
It's
relax and
something
observe.
else, the peace, isn't it? And I remember one of the hotels we stayed at one morning. So after Fajr we came back, it was still sunrise, and so the sky is a bit purpley blue, isn't it? Pinky. And then, so I was looking over, and you could
Oh,
see the
wow.
two domes of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam and Imam Hussein. I literally, it was just one of the most amazing scenes. Saw a flock of birds, and I was thinking, what are they doing? I was just, observing them from the rooftop, and the birds came. They went around Hazrat Abbas. They went swirled around the
Really?
dome. They flew over to Imam Hussein, and really for about 6 or 7 times it was as though
That's
those birds were
amazing.
doing tawaf, and it's something that your eyes are just,
That's amazing.
you can't believe what your eyes are
That's
seeing.
really nice.
It's just amazing. And you think that, subhanallah, what is this place of heaven?
Yeah.
It is a piece of heaven,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Karbala
So when it
is
comes
a piece of heaven.
when it comes to actual ziyarah itself, there's the ziyarah has a specific journey,
Yeah.
starting from even the narrations, doing ghusl.
Yes.
To make sure that you're purified before you even think about the ziyarah, before even actually visiting, you do your ghusl to make sure that you're purified, and then there's every step that you want to take towards the actual shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Yeah.
There's a specific
Etiquette, isn't there?
etiquette, and there's
Yes.
specific words to say, and that's all part of the whole ziyarah,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely. With the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, a lot of the lessons that we take from the ziyarah, you see, one thing that we need to realize is we mentioned in ziyarat Ashura the wilayah of the infallibles and those who performed wilayah for them. Right? So we associate ourselves with the infallibles and those who associate with them. Therefore, with the true companions, the companions that truly showed love for the infallibles, we can take lessons from them. As for the etiquettes of the ziyarah, Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari sets beautiful etiquettes of ziyarah. And we see that in the ziyarah of Arba'in, where he comes, while he is blind, he says to the servant that's with him, or his companion, whoever he is, and he, as in whoever he is according to the narrations, not
Yeah.
belittling him,
Yeah.
as into the
Yeah.
narration.
Yeah.
So some say his servant,
Yeah.
some say he's his companion. And he goes, he says to him, take me to the river of Farat. He goes there and he washes his body, he performs ghusl. Then he puts on the purest of his clothes, and he puts on himself the most beautiful of scents. Meaning he wants to approach Imam Hussein in a clean way.
Yeah.
Similarly, this is what we should do. So when we go for ziyarah, we make sure we are in appropriate clothing.
Yeah.
There is no need for us to be wearing clothing that may be acceptable around friends, but you're going to
Sure.
visit the Imam.
Of course, yeah.
There's a different kind of clothing.
Respect, isn't
It's
it?
respect to the
Yeah.
Imam.
Exactly.
Not just clothing. You make sure that you're clean.
Yeah.
Yes, we can have a game of football and then chill with our friends for a bit just before we go shower. That could be fine. But when you go to Imam Hussein, no, make sure you're clean. Make sure you smell good. Out of respect to the Imam. Similarly, when you stand in prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you always make sure you're on wudu. Why? Because that is the state of purity.
Yeah.
Correct? So similarly with Imam Hussein, the very first step of doing his ziyarah is to make sure that we are actually ready to enter his shrine. So you need to imagine it as if you are entering his house.
Yeah.
Imagine as if you're entering his house. Are you ready to enter that house? Are you ready for him to welcome you in the house in the state you are in? If you are, then go.
And they are more alive than us, so
They are, of
the
course.
fact that we are not, to recognise that they see everything, whether our hotel is however many metres away or on their
Yeah.
doorstep, they are watching each of their Zawaras
Definitely.
coming. So to have that cognizance that,
Yes.
who are we approaching? It's
Yes,
not
definitely.
a small thing.
Definitely. Therefore, you need to make sure that you show that good image of yourself in front of the Imam himself. So once you're in that state, that is when you are ready to go to ziyarah. Then when you go to ziyarah, there are specific du'as and this is so beautiful by the Imams when they teach us that you stand by the door, you recite this. You take 2 steps, you recite this.
Yeah.
You hold the shrine, you recite this. And it's so beautiful, it's the etiquette. And you cannot learn the true etiquette of visiting the Imam except from the infallible himself.
Yes.
Do we? Sorry.
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Honestly, go for it.
No, because I was going to say, do we know who narrated this ziyarah?
Imam Sadiq.
So Imam Sadiq performed this exact act that
Imam
you're talking about.
Sadiq, his companion came to him, called Al-Mufaddal, I believe his name
Yeah.
was. So he asked him, he said, how far are you away from my grandfather Hussein? He said to him, I am 1 day away. Of course, at that time, they didn't have cars. And so it's 1 day away means he's very close. That is to say that he's close.
Right.
He says, I'm 1 day away in terms of journey, journey time. So he says to him, do you perform his ziyarah? He says, yes, I do. He said, next time you perform ziyarah, go to his shrine reciting this. السلام عليك يا آدم صفوة الله السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله to the end of it. And then he says, then take 2 steps and say this. Then hold the shrine and say this. Then kiss the tomb and say this. So these are steps given by Imam Sadiq to and if you remember, we talked about how these are all narrations. So this ziyarah is a narration.
Beautiful.
We have left out the detail of Mufaddal comes to the Imam says this, etc. We took the core of it. This is what we need, and this is what we do.
So Bismillah, if you'd like to recite, that would be wonderful.
Inshallah. So I chose the specific part of when entering the shrine. Say بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله قصدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. And this, sorry.
Yeah, so specifically it actually says قصدت حرمك. Yes. So I moved towards your sanctuary.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is why I chose this specific part of it, because not only does it say I came قصدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك, and I came to your scenery, or however you would translate that, but then this is where you make your dua. أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده. So once you've come to this place, and this is an amazing thing about the ziyarah of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, he was given 3 things out of karama from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His turba, the sand that comes from Karbala, there is shifa in it. The dua under his tomb is mustajab, and the third is the lineage of the Imams. These are the 3 karamat given to Imam. And specifically dua under the tomb of Imam Hussein, you are promised that it is mustajab.
I'm going to just say, actually, somebody, I was quite taken aback. Somebody I know had a near-death experience, and he felt that his neck was being squeezed, and he saw the place of Imam Hussein, and that everyone is praying under the sort of golden dome and the tomb next to the tomb, and all of their hajat have been taken up by angels, and they've been taken up to the Imam for him to beseech Allah, say, please reward these people and accept. And then alhamdulillah, the person survived, but it was something that really touched him, and it was quite scary, obviously, for that person.
Of course, definitely.
It just manifests what we're told, isn't it? That
definitely.
Nothing gets unheard there. So
nothing, honestly, nothing. And and the thing is, it's a specific place where it is narrated by the feet of Imam Hussein, and that is where Ali al-Akbar is buried. That specific corner, and they've literally made it into a little corner. That specific corner, if you stand there, look up, you'll see you're directly under the dome.
Really?
Directly. And that is exactly what this place is referring to, where your dua is mustajab. And Imam al-Sadiq, he very beautifully teaches us a specific thing about dua here. So he says, أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لديك. So he says, I ask Allah with the status that you have with him. He doesn't ask for his hajj straight away. And yusalli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And that's very important. You always send your salutations to the Prophet and his family before you make your own dua, because that dua is never rejected. Therefore, when you start your dua with the salawat and you end your dua with the salawat, Allah would be too shy to not answer what is in the middle, inshallah. May Allah answer our du'as, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much.
It's actually amazing. I love the way I just had an image in my head where Imam Hussein alayhi salam is just almost picking up all the hajat and then giving them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because essentially he's, him and the infallibles are the rope towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as you mentioned, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the shafa'ah of Imam Hussein in the hereafter.
And to allow us to be with him in this world and in the hereafter, inshallah.
It's only through their mercy.
And that's actually in Ziyat Ashura as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, in the last part of Ziyat Ashura, we pray for that specific dua as well. So
there's many similarities in the ziyaras of Imam Hussein, this being one of them.
Yeah,
thank you so much. That's all we have time for.
Yeah.
We have been told to.
So thank you so much for your time, Ibrahim. Of course, in
the
the next couple of episodes, we'll be looking into more of a deep dive into Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam and Abul Fadl Abbas, looking into their specific ziyaras and how that compares to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. As for this show of Morning Baraka, in the next segment, we're looking actually from the streets of Karbala itself, the Zuwar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and after that, verses of love with myself. Stay tuned.
We have arrived in Karbala. We have arrived in Karbala. لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين. We have arrived in Karbala. We have arrived in Karbala. لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين. All my people I have led.
Love to Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, and alhamdulillah, you just see how many people there are. Every morning you wake up and you're so humbled to be here again and be given the opportunity to come to Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. It's something that is always part of you. You always feel that you want to come back to Karbala all the time, but then sometimes you forget that you're not the only person who loves Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. You see the love here, the amount of people who are devoting themselves physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, everything they have to come to see Abu Abdullah, to serve Abu Abdullah. People who are also walking are serving, people who are working in the mokibs are serving, people who are helping from home are paying and giving money. It's just something so humbling to be part of, and the chance to be here again, it's just such a blessing, really. The thing about this walk that is so amazing is you see so many denominations and people from different places around the world, all driven by the love of Abdullah, all wanting to be with him, but all wanting to be with each other, hugging each other, holding each other, helping each other get through. It's something beautiful. It also breaks your heart because you can't help but think of those whose walk we're doing. The sunnah of this walk is the sunnah of Bibi Zainab Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, and you think that the best of creations and those who are the guiding lights are the ones who helped us, taught us so much, were treated in the worst of ways, and we, or at least myself, the worst of people, are treated in the best of ways. It just makes you think.
I do show in me love seeds you have sown, for art within me does flow. You're the moon within the night, you're the guiding ship of light. For Islam you did fight, how in passion I'm inflamed. Your land on my heart is engraved. لبيك يا حسين، لبيك يا حسين.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and as you've seen on your screen, the atmosphere in and around Karbala, the vicinity of Karbala, the shrines, the people walking now towards Karbala. The authorities have recorded historical figures once again, year in, year out. The numbers keep increasing as people feel the need to pledge their allegiance to Imam Hussein alayhi salam during the month of Safar, specifically the time of Arba'een. Once again, Verses of Love is where we connect to Imam Hussein alayhi salam during the months of Muharram and Safar, during the times of Ashura and Arba'een. We connect to Imam Hussein alayhi salam with tears and with lamentations, recitations and poetry. Today's episode we're going to be focusing on recitations once again, and I've had some very, very fascinating discussions with my dear brother, the reciter Imran Datu, and he joins us once again. Assalamu alaikum, Imran. So just to, we had some really, really good discussions about how to really connect with the non-Muslims from a recitation point of view, because me and you both know when it comes to recitations, I am much more comfortable, as you are as well, sticking to my own culture when it comes to the form and the style of delivery of the melody. But unfortunately, the non-Muslims, the people that we even work with at work, universities, they don't understand that culture. So for us to be able to explain to them, we're already on the back foot, because number one, you got to explain to them terms like Karbala and Ashura and Hussein and who's Hussein. Yeah. So how, from your perspective, you know, you've got the experience as well, how do you really start to, what's the process of us beginning to really take the message out to the West?
So I think, firstly, like you said, when it comes to your colleagues and friends that a circle that you hang around with, use that as the starting point, I'd say 100%. So, you know, when they discuss what are you doing, especially around Muharram, you know, if they ask you what are you doing, your answer will be, I'm going to mosque. Why are you going to mosque? You know, because when they go to...
So you begin to plant the seed.
Absolutely. Yeah, get a conversation going. It's the best way. And then, you know, and I've had these conversations before, and then you explain to them, you know, the grandson of the Prophet, because they know Prophet Muhammad. Yeah. So grandson of Prophet Muhammad. The
starting point is
something
Prophet Muhammad, and then
exactly something they can relate to, and then come down Imam Hussein, and then, you know, tragic death of his whole family. Why, they'll ask, and then it's just natural. It'll be a natural conversation. But then to get that message to them, I think so. Starting, use your work colleagues, use your friends, things like that to do it on from that point of view. But when it comes to reciting. Something, you know, again, you can tell people that you do, and you can show them something that they can actually relate to. It's important to kind of divert your style a little bit, and it's not easy at all. I like myself and yourself know. I think there was a couple that you did higher, I believe, but it was really that for me, that kind of style is good, because that's something that the non-Muslims will relate to and can relate to. So I think along those lines that's the right direction. So I think that's where we need to go. So if for myself, even trying to find a vibe between an Urdu or something I'm comfortable with, but putting it out there in a way that they would also understand. It's tough, but you can only gain this by speaking to them and knowing, I guess, what they want. Okay, so what stage are you at now? If for example, the benchmark is to create something that similar to higher. Let's just use higher as a benchmark. What stage are you at now from your personal life? So now, like we said, the English has just come about, and alhamdulillah, we're just getting to grasps with that. So we're focusing on that at the moment. So if someone did ask, we can show them the English. Granted, it wouldn't be something they would listen to, because at the moment what they listen to is for entertainment. Yeah. We listen to this for the words. To grieve. And they won't understand that straight away. So we work, that's where I'm at the moment. So working on our version of the English. But next steps would definitely be, I think collaboration is the best way to, in my opinion, to do it, because sometimes single-handedly, if you are known, for example, to be an Urdu reciter, and then if you come out with a brand new English track, and you know, on such a vibe of almost like the songs and the music that we hear without the instruments, I think it's difficult to carry, or at least for me, it's difficult to carry it on your own. Whereas if you, for example, go with somebody who's done English for a while, like yourself, for example, you know, and the ideas that, say, I would gain from you and you would gain from me, that mix, I think, would be very beneficial and something that the non-Muslims would really kind of, I guess, listen to and accept, I guess, in their mind, that this is, even if initially they listen to something for entertainment that we produce, but they listen to it, they will get down to the words eventually. They will. It's natural.
From your side, I know that we have a lot of time ahead of us, but at the same time, the generations they're changing. The younger generation are changing. So what we find to be interesting to listen to, maybe the next generation doesn't find interesting. So how soon do you think we should take the next step when it comes to really delivering that message?
Yeah, to be honest, I think ASAP, because who knows how much life we have. And if we need to get some work done here, as a responsibility, like I said, to kind of get that message across, ASAP is good. So I think one step at a time. But now, like I said, we've done this English Urdu vibe, and now I think, like you said, it'd be ideal to start moving on. Even if it's, there are all these young reciters as well. You look at them, aged, 15, 16, 17, and all of them will have friends who are, like you said, in this new generation. There's no harm in communicating with them, asking what kind of things do you guys like to listen to, or your friends would they respond to, and then even get ideas from the young ones, and the potential they have is sometimes underestimated. So I think it might be also worth asking the young reciter.
So you're saying like it's as soon as possible. Otherwise, we're gonna miss the boat when it comes to the next generation and what they find interesting.
Absolutely.
Because there's only so much that we know about the youth. And we really need to be connected with them. But from your lifestyle, my lifestyle, our priorities, your priorities, it's hard to stay in connection with youth 24/7 to find out what really makes them tick. So the question is, we've got to do it as soon as possible. What do you feel like is really holding us back from being able to achieve the benchmark, for example?
I think personally for me, and I'm not sure how the Iraqi culture is, but our culture is very, I don't mean to sound rude or bad towards the culture, but sometimes can be very judgmental. So something simple like in my last year and the album, one of the videos, or the year previous to that, sorry, some of the videos I released seemed a little bit elaborate for some of the audiences in the Khoja world, if you will.
Right.
And I received feedback that, keep it simple. Why are you doing all this? Why are you going out in the beach to take a video? Or
really?
Yeah, so that automatically that makes you think, oh, hang on, am I doing something wrong?
Yeah.
Whereas if you look, and that was from one of the older generation, if you will. But if you look at the newer generation, in my opinion, if you look at something like that, it's like a fresh video. It's something like, it's not a plain black background anymore. It's something fresh. It's something that they'll be like, oh, that's a nice camera angle, for example.
Relate to it.
Absolutely, they can relate to it. And that's what we need to do. And I find that's the culture restraints are a big thing that kind of hold us back from doing.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we have to get ahead of it. The times now is everything is online, everything is cyber, everything is viral, everything is about, especially for the youth, they're so much more connected to the online world than they were previously.
Absolutely.
So back in the day when we were younger, we didn't know anything about what's happening in other different countries, or what's the latest trends, or what's the latest fads that are out there. The only thing that we focused on were physical things, like I don't know if you remember Pogs, for example, or Tamagotchis.
Tamagotchis,
do you know what I mean? So there's physical things that within the community we can relate to, but now everything's online.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a difficult one, but at the same time we have to get ahead of that. Otherwise, they're not interested. Let's just be absolutely frankly honest. They're not interested when it comes to the overtly Islamic way of delivering the message.
Absolutely.
So we have to find ways to go around that. Of course, trying to be within the boundaries, of course. But there has to be some
There has to be. And I think even with the production, if you do it like a studio release, the production of it has to be something different video-wise. Because nowadays, if you look at like these memes and these videos that come out, they're hardly like 10 to 30 seconds long. And it almost tells you that the concentration span is very limited now. So for someone, I'll be honest, if I release a track, for me to say that I think everybody or who listens to this will listen from 0 seconds all the way to the 8th minute, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. I don't listen to tracks that long.
Unless it's very cinematography, you know, the cinematography is amazing.
Exactly.
And it's like a film that you're watching.
Exactly. So the production of it may also need to be increased because the idea is to keep that attention span, and it's tough, like you say, but it's something that needs to be thought about and worked on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, look, I mean, that's essentially the message that we want to. Technically speaking, from a recitation point of view, what do you think we should do in order to try and stay ahead of the times from the youth, from a live perspective? We've spoken about studio. What we need to do, hopefully, try and stay is to create something that's a bit more trendy with the youth. But from a live perspective, how do we get them to be interested in the live recitations?
So with regards to the live one, it's difficult because again, like in the in the Khoja culture, the majalis, if they attend the masjid, if they attend the program, they'll be there. But what we're finding at the moment is a lack of attendance from these youth. So it's to actually, what do you do to bring these youth in? Simply with recitation, I don't know if it's something that we can aid. I'm sure there is a way, but I don't know, there's some way of getting them involved, or reciting as a group maybe, so they feel a little bit more involved. But first, they need to connect with Imam Hussein. First, they need to connect with the mosque, which unfortunately now we see a lack of in the youth itself. So I think the first step is to somehow find a way for them to come.
Do you think it's got a lot to do with the actual parents themselves? Because the parents are changing as well, because the next generation is, for example, myself and yourself, who are the parents within the community. And we have to, is it a responsibility on us to make sure that our kids go to the mosque, but because we're disenchanted with the mosque in itself, there's a lot of grappling going on. I don't want to be there, but at the same time I have to because of my young ones. So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, how do we get the children to come into the mosque? Is it our responsibility? I think
so. I think it's in the upbringing, 100%. I mean, I truly believe it. From a young age, if your parents don't take that effort to go to mosque, if that with you, take you to mosque, listen to the lecture. When you grow up, if the parents say, do what you want, it's okay, the children will find an excuse. I mean, right now, during the World Cup final, or was it? No, sorry, it was the England-Belgium third place game. It was Imam Jafar Sadiq's wafat at that time. And the Maulana on the minbar made a very good point, and he was very saddened to the point tears came down his face, saying that, and because the mosque was empty, and he goes that it's so sad that people give priority to the World Cup rather than come to Imam Jafar Sadiq's martyrdom commemoration. And it's a very important point that and you will get parents as well who would have done that, I'm assuming. No, not everyone, everybody has different circumstances. However, things like this happen now, where priority is given to something else apart from the Ahlul Bayt. And I think we are losing the importance of who the Ahlul Bayt are. We don't realize.
Yeah, they're not an integral part of our lifestyle. They're just an addition.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be. And I've always said, when I speak to, even if I speak to co-workers and stuff, when it comes to religion of Islam, especially in Ramadan, they're like 10 hours, how can you, 18 hours, how can you do it?
Yeah.
But I always tell them that, look, it's, you can't conform religion to your life. You need to conform to the religion.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So, and again, it's the same thing with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, when it's commemorating them, remembering even on their birth anniversaries, make them important. And the parents need to instill this in the children. And obviously I'm saying this to myself before obviously telling all the viewers. Instill it and it will stay.
Inshallah. Instill it and it will stay. Many thanks for your time. Some fascinating discussions about how to really connect with the non-Muslims, as well as trying to bring the youth back into the majalis through the different types and forms of the studio recitations, and trying to get them into the mosques for the live recitations. So really appreciate your time. Up next, as ever, is Dear Masuma with my co-host Zara Kazmi, as well as Masuma Jafar, where today they're going to be discussing momentum.
Mashallah, very beautiful. And now it's time to welcome Sister Masuma. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you for joining us once again. And so today's topic is about keep maintaining momentum during these months that we are blessed to commemorate. So we have a question from our viewer. Dear Masuma, I've been really good this Muharram and Safar. I've managed to keep a momentum up with the Mustahab acts and would really like to maintain the standard in the upcoming months and hopefully throughout the year. Staying on the right path can be difficult, especially in the West. And so how can we maintain our good deeds after these holy months?
Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I think it's important to realize that it will be easier to do mustahab acts in these months because of the blessings of these months. So there are certain times and opportunities that God gives us which helps us to do extra to normal. What we need to do when we're doing those extra things is, one, to do it with presence of heart and presence of mind so that we're getting the maximum benefit, and actually sort of evaluate what we're getting from it. If we can see the benefit that we're getting from it, if we can feel the sweetness of the ibadah, then that will push us to continue it. If we do it just again because it's easier and we just do it and don't think about it, then as soon as the blessing of the month goes, then also the ibadah goes.
Sure.
So it's important to actually do it with presence of heart, presence of mind. It's important to use these times not only just to do, extra du'as and extra sort of prayers and things, but also to sort of take time out and reevaluate my life, to prioritize what I want out of life, to think about, where I am, where I should be, what's stopping me from being where I should be, what are the wajib actions that I'm not doing so well, that I need to improve on, what are the haram actions which maybe, I'm sort of getting too close to the sort of the line that's on the sand, because again, it becomes very blurred when you get that close to it. So spend this time to actually sort of, just contemplate and think about what I want to change. So I'm not doing it just without thinking. And when I'm doing these actions, actually feel the benefits of these actions, connect to my soul, feel this, my soul actually getting stronger and feel that connection with Allah. It's
because they're already feeling it, aren't they? They're saying that I have got to a good place. Alhamdulillah, they're feeling that, satisfaction or blessing, however, we want to interpret that. But so to keep that, they must realize it was the ibadah that helped them.
So actually sort of, just realizing what it is that they were doing that's helping them.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes what we do is we feel it, but because we feel so good about it, we don't actually focus on it, and then we just move on. So if we can actually focus on the feeling and actually realize that this is what I want, this is where I want to be, then when the rest of the time when life takes over, if I can go back to remembering that feeling that I felt and bring it back to my mind, that'll give me the push that I need to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, because you're obviously at a high, a spiritual high, and that's what you're feeling, the momentum. You're feeling that I'm at a good place, because obviously your soul is telling you that. And then to sort of keep, sort of a measure. And like you said, I think in a previous program, that we will drop. It's natural that we go into this world of materialism and constant pressures on our physical selves that we can easily neglect what our soul needs. So it's to kind of keep it up.
Yeah, so making sure even if we drop, we don't drop back to where we were, but we're still a little bit higher than when we were.
And sometimes do you think we can just be so hard on ourselves that there's a hadith from Imam Ali, I can't remember exactly the wording, but it's like, don't pressure yourself to, do. So sometimes you feel tired, and you may do a daily dua and all your nawafil with your maghrib, isha prayers, and then suddenly one night you're feeling tired, or maybe in a phase you're going through, you're physically feeling battered, soul is feeling battered, that you think, I need a bit of a rest so that I can come back and be stronger. Is that something that we can? It's sort of be easy on ourselves rather than always think that we have to.
Yeah, no, I think it's important not to push yourself too much, but at the same time not be too easy on yourself as well. So I think it's recognizing that I need to ensure, first of all, I need to ensure that the wajibat's done, that there's no compromise on that. So whether I'm feeling tired, lazy, ill, it doesn't matter. The wajib actions have to be done. And so that's really, really important. And giving the importance of the wajib actions, so not just doing them as a tick box exercise is really, really important. Then, you know, when I'm feeling on a high spiritually, then do more, as much as I can, and actually push myself then. When I'm feeling a little bit low, then maybe not do as much, but still do a little bit.
Yes,
So constantly be doing, so you're pushing yourself a little bit, but not too much that you sort of start resenting it. The important thing is to not resent it, but at the same time not allow shaitan to stop you from doing it. So what I think, and also not make it a tick box exercise. Sometimes I think we get into the habit of doing something and it becomes then ritualistic.
Yeah.
And then you're doing it without presence of mind or presence of heart. So for someone who, for example, maybe recites Dua Kumal every Thursday night, which is brilliant, alhamdulillah, you know.
Yeah.
But then, you know, if you're doing it just because you've got into the habit of doing it and it becomes ritualistically and you're not paying attention to it, and you're actually then turning the pages to see, you know, when it's finishing because you're tired, it's not serving any purpose. So maybe thinking, okay, you know what, it usually takes me half an hour to recite Dua Kumal. Today I'm obviously not connecting to the dua. So rather than reciting Dua Kumal, let me do some other ibadah for half an hour.
Doesn't it say at the beginning that, you know, even if you recite, or is it Imam Ali say them? Is it that you, even if you read one sentence and you read it
with presence of mind,
with presence of mind, so even if it's not sort of every day or every week, that it's, you know, not to let it go, but not to be so that, like you said, ritualistic and thinking that it's.
And also not stopping, you know, so if I've allocated a certain amount of time for the ibadah, realize that maybe today my soul needs another type of ibadah.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like food.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I want pizza, sometimes I want, I don't know, you know, meat or something. It's different. You know, you feel like different. And it's the same with the soul. Sometimes it connects to the Holy Quran, sometimes it'll connect to a dua, sometimes it'll connect to a salah. So again, it's, you know, just doing different things, but ensuring that I'm trying to sort of give my soul what it requires when it comes to the mustahabat. But it's giving that extra time.
It's really amazing because I think, you know, while we're thinking that it's actually our ibadah that we've done, that's done so well, but if you think about it, these months are such a blessing for us, aren't they? That almost as though the sacrifice happens so that it could be almost an excuse to allow us to bring us back to the point of origin where we're meant to be central, focus on Allah. And I think I remember sort of in a trip to Mashhad, and, you know, the nights are so beautiful and peaceful in any holy shrine. But again, it's not because you're doing anything special. You could be doing that, you know, Salat al-Layl at home, but it's because of the vicinity of that Masoom, that their blessings, that Allah has eternally blessed their souls, that we also have our souls sort of, you know, aligned with that, you know, invincible and invisible kind of, you know, you see the blessings that, you know, are there, and you think the angels go around those circumambulate their shrines. So it's also not putting too much emphasis on yourself, is it, that, oh, I'm so good, that, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. But again, it's, I think once you feel that connection, then you want it and you want to continue. And that's the whole idea of these, you know, holy places, holy months, is to actually feel the sweetness of the ibadah so that you want to then continue it. I think, you know, a lot of the times we do it resentfully. We do it because we don't have a choice, because we have to do it, because it's a wajib action, so it becomes, again, a tick box exercise. Or we do it ritualistically because we've got into the habit of doing it. But if we can actually feel the sweetness of the ibadah, if we can feel that connection, then you
take it to another level, wouldn't it?
And that will then give you that, you know, that push, that drive that you need to sort of keep you going.
No, that's beautiful, absolutely. So it's really bringing the heart into it so that you can really benefit from what you're doing. Because I think, yes, it becomes, not to say it's a burden, but if somebody's doing it ritualistic every week and then it becomes like, oh yeah, I've got to do that. But, you know, you're absolutely right, you really need to be...
Yeah, and then I think then it becomes, you get that sort of arrogance and pride that comes from it. Oh, I do this every week. Whereas if it was something that was done for the soul, it would bring that humbleness within it rather than arrogance.
Right.
So again, if you're feeling proud of yourself, then you know that maybe you need to sort of realign your niyyah again and sort of correct it slightly, because obviously any sort of ibadah should bring humility and humbleness within yourself, not arrogance.
Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing how shaitan pats us on the back and then we do it ourselves, like, you know, wow, we're in a good place. But
and also I think one of the other things maybe to think about is, you know, we actually take time out of our normal daily routine to do these extra things. And then when these special days are over, we go back to our normal routine and we feel that we're too busy then to continue with the ibadah.
Yeah.
But we can actually find time, because I think a lot of the times we're busy trying to be busy.
Yes.
And I think, you know, if we can find time, it's like, you know, when you become, you know, if you remember the first time you had your child, and it's like you think, oh my God, there's not enough hours in the day to look after this child and do everything that needs doing. And then suddenly you get a second child, and all of a sudden you're finding extra time to do all of these things, and you're thinking, where did that time come from? So it's again realizing that there is time, and I just need to then just, you know, make sure that I put that time aside to do my ibadah.
Because it's so true, isn't it? I think we go through life thinking, you know, oh yeah, I'll do that later. You know, you know, your parent could be calling you, and you're like, yeah, I'll come and see you. And you think, you know, before, God forbid, they go from this, make that time, you know, and you know, you'll do it for your children. But it's so you have to do
it consciously.
It's so true. And just as a final point, so we build a momentum, we protect ourselves in those holy nights. We, you know, stay away from sort of normal routine. We're at the mosque more. Taking it forward, how would you say is, what kind of things could be a hindrance for us in the West, sort of like, you know, anywhere actually in this world, there's not much difference anywhere, that how temptation is everywhere. So what is it that we need to protect ourselves from that sort of can affect our souls?
I think, like you said, it is anywhere, but I think more in the West we have this concept of instant gratification, we have this subtle brainwashing that's constantly happening, where it's all about the material world. You know, it's all about me, it's all about I, you know, it's like, what am I getting out of it, sort of thing. So I think one of the beauty of Muharram is to actually go back to the Ahlul Bayt and use them as role models and see how they lived their life and how simple their life was, and bring that into my life and sort of think about, you know, I want to, you know, if I love them, then I need to emulate their life. Otherwise, what's the point of that love?
Absolutely.
Yeah? So that will then take away all the other hindrances that we have, because then I'm actually trying to live my life according to the way that it should be led, rather than the way that the West or you know, other people are telling me to live my life.
No, it's very true, isn't it? So I think it's putting the theory and the knowledge that we have into our own lives and into ourselves, because we're so busy, or we can be, focusing on others. And it's easy to see others because it's in front of you, but what's inside of you is so much worse, isn't it? That, you know, we don't necessarily, we don't need to confront it if it's hidden, self-concealed. The ego will not allow you to see it.
And how many times do we listen to, you know, something, you know, some sort of majalis or something where we hear something, I've got to tell that to my child. Or I've got to tell it, you know, to my
I
friend.
know that person's like, it's
and
true.
you're just like, you heard it for a reason. You know, God put you in this position and you actually heard this for a reason. So maybe just self-reflect on, you know, what can I take away from this?
Definitely, absolutely brilliant words of wisdom. I think, inshallah, people can benefit and continue the momentum, which is so important, I think, you know, to give yourself that boost, and then obviously that's a charge and a recharge, but then to somehow keep it going. Thank you so much. Inshallah, we'll see you again soon.
Inshallah.
And next up are the mini Husseinis.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Razia Husseini Kermit. Today I'm here at IMAM HUSSEIN TV to work on a special project for mini Husseini. So come on inside and I'll hear what I'll be doing.
Is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala.
And this is my friend Abbas. Assalamu alaikum, Abbas. Me and Abbas are doing a shape together, so come on, follow us. We're going to go to the shop to buy some supplies. Yay! We're at the shops now to buy some stuff to make ourselves look pretty. So come on, Abbas, let's go inside. After finding the items we wanted, Abbas and I went to the main counter. The man was very helpful as we paid for the items. We got all we need. Now it's time to get ready for the set. Oh, I was so tired. See you next time. Bye.
Yes, welcome back, dear viewers, to the last segment of Morning Baraka. You've just seen some key insights into a young girl's journey of realization when it comes to Muharram and Safar and the different rituals associated with that. So first and foremost, I guess we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise a generation of Husseinis, or mini Husseinis, as the segment is called. In this part of the show, me and Zara we're talking to Sayyid Muhsin Shah. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyidina.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Who is shedding some light on
on the jurisprudential aspects of Muharram and Safar. So we're talking about many different issues ranging from the specific walk to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the spiritual benefits associated with that, the different rituals of Azadari, for example. And
it's been quite interesting and informative. So hope the viewers have been able to keep up with us and watch.
Definitely,
And today's actually is an extension of really Arabine's discussion, and we're going to be discussing how to bring it to the West if we aren't among the pilgrims visiting.
Indeed, those lucky ones who actually got invited
to
go towards Karbala. And mashallah, we want to try and encourage people that even though you're not in Karbala, that doesn't mean you can't have your Arba'in and you can't enjoy in the experience, and you can't have your own version of Arba'in here in your own homes, in your own cities, inshallah.
Right.
I remember somebody, a sheikh once saying that you could be physically in Karbala but actually spiritually vacant, and you could be very far distant but closer connected to the Imam than people that are actually there. So it's quite important to have that connection. It doesn't matter where we are physically, but
definitely. I mean that was the whole purpose of having the ziyarah, was that if you couldn't visit Abu Abdullah, then from your own homes, point into face the direction and send your salutations to Abu Abdullah. That connection, to reinforce that connection, to keep that connection and preserve it, because without that, then there's not much left, is there?
And we're also, when Ali was introducing, so we've got the mini Husseinis, journey of, a little girl in this country, going through the whole Muharram experience, Arba'in. And it's important, isn't it, for our children to be involved in these activities from a young age so that they continue. It's not something that you just, at 16, turn up at the... It's about evolving your child, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, there is a ranking process, you could say, where you start off with helping out, maybe putting shoes in the right places, helping prep the hall, to something a bit more important where you're like sorting out the sound system and the lighting, to even more important when you're organising the speakers and the Noor Khan or the Mullah to come and recite the Latmiyat, to finding donations, to run a programme, to having your own mawqib of such. And you look at all of these people who are involved in organising Majlis, they all started at a young age at the bottom of the ranks and slowly worked their way up with the experience. And then in London, mashallah, we have so many mawaqib that are run by the Shabab simply because they were involved in the Majalis and gained that experience and were able to put on such programs.
So just so that, in terms of like Arba'in in the West, there's a lot of question marks about what people see Arba'in to be, especially from a Western perspective. And I think, in a sense, it's a bit easier to describe Arba'in to a non-Muslim than it is, for example, describing bloodletting or many other rituals. But if we had to, in a nutshell, be able to explain in a Western term, using Western language, for example, how would we be able to explain the visit of Arba'in?
Arba'in, the visit of Arba'in, or Arba'in, the day itself, we could tell them that this is arguably the final mourning period of the death of Abu Abdullah Hussein, the grandson of Rasulullah and sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. And this is our final farewell and final goodbye, for we may not see him and we may not get to experience him again for the following year. So this is our official goodbye and our official farewell, and our official, you could say, ending of the whole episode of Ashura, to what happened to Sayyidah Zainab, the travelling to Sham, or what happened in the dungeons and coming back.
The question is, like, people don't see that aspect of it, of the goodbye or the allegiance. They just see people walking, people giving out food, shelter. What's that? How do I translate that?
That, you could say, is you giving your service towards Abu Abdullah, and you giving charity or doing something in the name and in the honor of Imam Hussein. That on this day we have chosen, though it is the end of the mourning and the grieving, we have chosen this day to collect everyone together and to use this as an opportunity to give in the name of Abu Abdullah and in honor of Abu Abdullah and the sacrifice that he made, that we will honor him, honor his life, honor his death, and we will, provide a service of giving charity, whether it's informing people and educating people, whether it's to remind people of what happened, of the injustice and fighting oppression, and that today we still have injustice and oppressions that we are to stand up to and face and fight.
Service is something that's actually universal, whether you talk to a person of faith or otherwise, people understand what service is. So this is our service in our faith, to the message of Imam Hussein. And I think what's important is, while we could look at these things as rituals, and we've discussed them in previous mornings, it's really about learning, isn't it? So what are we actually emulating from Ahl Bayt here? It's not the giving is a part of it, it's the generosity of the soul, it's opening our hearts. But I mean, in terms of how would you explain to our viewers of what are the moral lessons we're taking here to become better human beings?
Indeed, we have, throughout the whole of the Muharram experience and the Arba'in experience, there's an experience of self-realization, there's a period of self-reflection, there's, you relate your life to Abu Abdullah, that he's standing up to his challenges. Am I standing up to my challenges? And he was ready to sacrifice his life for Islam. Am I ready to sacrifice my life for Islam? Especially if I'm not waking up for Fajr, me sacrificing my sleep. If I can't sacrifice my sleep for prayer, how am I going to sacrifice my life for Islam? And at the same time, standing up for what is right, wherever it is in the world, and standing up for those people who have injustice and oppression inflicted on them, that we have to stand up towards them, because it doesn't matter who's being oppressed, as long as there is an oppressor, we as Muslims and we as followers of Abu Abdullah need to stand up to that. And then comes the humanitarian side, and the side of charity and giving, and that Imam Hussein's message wasn't a message just for Islam, but it was a message for all of humanity, that there has to be some sort of level of respect and some sort of level of understanding that you're a human being, I'm a human being, we have difference of opinion, and I will stand up for my rights and you will stand up for your rights. But to take that to an extreme where someone is butchered and there's no form of diplomacy and there's no form of negotiation or no form of let's meet halfway, there was just you're with me or against me, a total dictatorship and dogmatic view on society. Abu Abdullah has shown us again how, as human beings, what is really important, and how we can stand and how we can win when it seems as though we're losing.
Sorry, and I was going to say in between then, and you went on to explain about the humanitarian aspect, is that often people, these are quite, I think people become immune to sort of words such as, Imam saying sacrifice, are we sacrificing in our life? But actually when you break it down into our lives, that oppression doesn't have to be on a macro level. It could be very much on a micro level. It could be your neighbours, it could be in your family. It doesn't have to be sort of a government you're opposing and their oppression. That often it could be oppression that you see even in the workplace towards somebody else. And do you speak up? Do you defend them?
I mean, when we in fiqh, when we discuss injustice, what is injustice? Injustice is perceived that something is not in its correct place. And a simple injustice me and you probably see on a day-to-day basis is maybe if you're on the train and there's an old elderly lady standing where she should be sitting. This is injustice. She is not in her place where she should be. She deserves the seat. Something small, as small as this, is what's considered to be injustice, and something as small as that is what Abu Abdullah is standing for, from the small to the macro, as you said, fighting a whole oppressive government.
But it's awakening the soul, isn't it? Because if we see these small issues happening on our daily, so if you're on the train journey, and you see somebody perhaps shouting at somebody or someone being abused in some way, I'm not encouraging people to obviously put their lives in danger, but if you don't speak up in your own way and defend somebody, how will, like you said, the bigger level is to go, well, we're waiting for an imam, how will we ever take that stance? But it is about waking up your soul at the small level, isn't it? And if you to wake up,
and I think this is why it's so important that we continue with the majalis, that they have the 10 days, but we continue throughout the whole of Safar, leading up to Arba'in. And also on Arba'in, if we can't be in Karbala, that wherever we are in our own cities, in our homes, that we do something, that we have a program. MashaAllah, in London we have one of the biggest marches there is in the country on Arba'in. Up to 10,000, 20,000 people turn up. and we have our banners, we have our drums, we have our slogans. A lot of people take this opportunity to discuss, general affairs and agendas that are happening right now in the world, bring up humanitarian rights and also other oppressive news that we need to discuss. But at the end of the day, it's there as a community. We're all there as a community together to remember Abu Abdullah and remember his message.
And also, I think, looking at Arba'in, and we were saying in our previous morning that people who are eager to give, and we can give here as well. So whether that's a local shelter home, if that's helping people at a disadvantage, maybe it's even your local Husseiniyah, perhaps they need our help, and to give those funds to them, to maybe give our time to them, things to make this.
Abu Abdullah was someone who was not sheltered and laid naked on the plains of Karbala. They say up to 3 days.
Yeah.
Why not in his honor donate some clothes to those who need clothes, or donate some money for shelter for those who need shelter?
Absolutely.
Right. Just to bring everything kind of together from what you were saying in terms of the service and how we can really translate Arba'in to the West. Something that you said kind of sparked a bit of memory in my head in the sense that a lot of charities out there will do marathons.
Yes.
And the marathons will include, for example, running from one area or cycling to one area.
Swimming.
And this is revered so much by the West because it's done for a good cause, and a good cause is charity. And one of the ways that I think one of my friends was saying that one of the ways we can translate Arba'in is the sense that people do walk Najaf to Karbala for charity.
Yes.
And people are starting to fundraise.
There is.
So
we have that brother every year who goes running.
Yeah.
He does Najaf to Karbala, he runs.
Yeah.
There was another one, I think it's called N2K, Najaf to Karbala, is another campaign that they're doing for
So that I think that in a way, and since they are youth that are spearheading these initiatives, we're going to talk about that a lot in the next episode. But I guess in a way of translating Arba'in to the West, it could be many different ways. But from just to conclude, I think it's the service that we want to show. People are giving from themselves. People are showing a pledge of allegiance to a man who gave everything that he had, like literally everything that he had, in the way of a cause, and we're trying to replicate that cause by, ideally we'd like to give everything that we can, but obviously realistically we can't. But what we can give, we try to give in the way of the same cause that Imam Hussein did as well, and trying to explain that to the West is. There are some similarities in initiatives that they do, as well as initiatives that we do.
Definitely. I mean, the West, we've known so many campaigns and so many charities named after famous people, famous sports personalities. Yeah. In their memory, they open up a charity. Yeah. They do good work in honor of that person. And there is no bigger person than Abu Abdullah.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
For us, if there's a name worth mentioning and a name worth honouring in charity, for us, it's Abu Abdullah al-Hussein.
Definitely.
And it's not just Imam Hussein's stance in Karbala, it's everything that Imam Hussein represents before he passed away, and everything to do with his family, from the Ahlul Bayt perspective. And it's just the route towards the Ahlul Bayt from a Western perspective is Imam Hussein. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but from many different Western values in terms of justice or hope or freedom or whatever it is, Imam Hussein encapsulated in Karbala. But Imam Hussein is the gateway towards the rest of the Imams who also showed similar traits as well, which is always fascinating to see. I think
we're up for time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So we've more or less brought to a conclusion Arba'in in the West. I think as I mentioned, we're going to look more specifically into actually the next generation in Arba'in in the West as well, and how we can
keep it revived. Yeah.
Keep it revived. Perfect.
Inshallah.
Zara, thank you.
Inshallah, we'll see you another morning. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, and you too as well. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
On that note, me and Zara, thank you very much for your viewership, the audience. Thank you so much for tuning in today. In the next episode with Sayyid Mohsin, as I mentioned, we're looking more into the jurisprudential context of Muharram and Arba'in. As such, enjoy the rest of your day and have a blessed day. And inshallah, we will see you next time on Morning Baraka. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
IMAM Hussein, with everything patient, with الحسين